Before the Great War, Persia found itself in a very tough spot. Imagine a giant tug of war, and Persia was the rope. On one side was Britain, with its vast empire and powerful navy. They wanted Persia's oil, discovered just a few years earlier, to fuel their warships. On the other side was Russia, Persia's imposing neighbor to the north, also eyeing Persia's resources and strategic location. Persia declared itself neutral in the growing conflict, but neutrality was a difficult thing to maintain. The country was deeply divided. Some favored the British, others the Russians, and many just wanted Persia to be left alone. This internal struggle, combined with the external pressures, made Persia's position extremely precarious. They were walking a tightrope, and the outbreak of World War I threatened to send them tumbling down. Despite its official neutrality, Persia couldn't escape the pull of the war. The country possessed something both sides desperately needed: oil. The British, in particular, relied heavily on Persian oil to fuel their ships in the Persian Gulf and the Mediterranean Sea. This made Persia strategically vital, even if they weren't directly involved in the fighting. Beyond oil, Persia became a crucial supply route for the Allied forces. Russia, facing pressure on its western front, needed supplies to reach its forces in the Caucasus region. Persia, with its shared border and established trade routes, became a lifeline for the Russians. Food, clothing, weapons, and other essential goods flowed through Persia, aiding the Allied war effort in ways few anticipated. Neutrality, a fragile concept in times of war, completely crumbled for Persia as the conflict raged on. The Ottoman Empire, allied with Germany, viewed Persia as a backdoor to attack British interests in the Middle East. Battles erupted on Persian soil, turning the country into a battleground for a war it didn't choose. One of the most significant confrontations was the Siege of Kut, a long and bloody battle between British and Ottoman forces in Mesopotamia, which spilled over into western Persia. The Persians, caught in the crossfire, suffered greatly. Their villages and towns became battlefields, their fields trampled, and their lives disrupted by the constant threat of violence. It was a stark reminder that in a world at war, neutrality offered little protection. Section 4. The Unseen Toll, Counting the Cost of Conflict. The First World War left a devastating mark on Persia, a country that had sought to remain neutral but was dragged into the conflict. The human cost was immense. While no precise figures exist, historians estimate that between 2 and 4 million Persians, a staggering number for a nation of roughly 10 million at the time, perished during the war. Famine and disease, fueled by the disruption of agriculture and trade, ravaged the country. The war had disrupted supply lines, making food scarce and leading to widespread starvation, particularly in the countryside. Adding to the misery, a devastating influenza pandemic swept through Persia in the war's aftermath, claiming even more lives. Section 5. Scars of War, a Legacy of Loss and Transformation. World War I left Persia deeply scarred, its social and political landscape forever altered. The war shattered the country's already fragile economy, leaving it vulnerable to foreign influence. The Qajar dynasty, which had ruled Persia for centuries, lost its already tenuous grip on power, paving the way for the rise of Reza Shah Pahlavi in 1925. Despite the devastation, the war also sparked a sense of Persian nationalism. The shared suffering, coupled with resentment towards foreign powers who had exploited their land and resources, fueled a desire for self-determination. This newfound nationalism would shape Persia's future, leading to significant social and political reforms in the decades that followed.